This is a remarkable accumulation of work. I'm so impressed. The size, the scale, the scope, the diversity of the work is just really an accomplishment. So congratulations, loving what I see.
My name is Don Murdock. That's the Murdock part of Torgesen Murdock, the artist. Happy and privileged to be married to this wonderful artist. Seen her work hard for all these many years, creating all this work and selling it. We've hauled it, we've loaded it, we've taken it all over the country to galleries and shows and all kinds of things. Just in the last like 2.5 months, this is the 8th show we've set up. So we're serious about this. I never touch a brush, never put a brush in paint. My job is strictly to frame the paintings and haul the paintings and provide a studio for Torgesen Murdock. It's my pleasure and privilege. I love her dearly, and thank you.
I'm Mitch Murdock. I'm Torgesen Murdock's son, and this is actually a painting that sits in my kitchen. And so right now our walls in our kitchen and actually pretty much in our whole house are totally empty. And it's really interesting to see how art completely changes a home. So in my view, you know, they talk about like what makes a house a home. I think art can be a really important part of that. At least it is for my family, because we love the art, we love the personality that it brings, we love the depth that it provides to different spaces and how it can transform a space. And when I think about the unique things with Torgesen Murdock, the things that I admire most that make her very different than other artists is she can produce wonderful landscapes, great figuratives, and amazing still life art. And that's so rare. Typically an artist will just pick one type of art, one medium, and just focus their whole career on that. She does watercolors, she does oils, and she does a lot of different types of art as well. And so that's something that I've always admired with her. And I think a painting like this just shows the type of depth that her paintings can have, the way that you kind of see the branches underneath the water and it kind of draws you back into the space. It's something that you can look at time and time again, and it changes each time that you look at it. So those are a few things that I really appreciate from her artwork.
We're going to go through the 3 rooms. I hope that you'll read my artist statements about these, because I have some pretty definite opinions. I do paint in very different styles. I mean, landscapes are their own thing, portraits are their own thing, still life is its own thing, just because it kind of demands that. I really love Mi. She wrote beautiful descriptions of what landscape is. I wrote a description for each room, and it's got my signature on it. So you can tell that's kind of how I felt about this. So the way I feel about landscape that is so wonderful is that landscape allows you to truly think out of the box. Okay, I don't visualize landscapes as little red barns in the middle of green fields, because I have rafted many wild rivers, including the Grand Canyon, where the waves are as big as the side of your house. I've been a scuba diver. I love the outdoors. And so I have seen nature as it really is. Nature is wild and crazy and tangled and in motion all the time. And so about 25 years ago, when I first started painting landscapes like this, my whole idea was to get oils to a point where I could make them say what nature says to me. So I want you to feel the water. I want you to feel the ice and the chaos and this is what winter looks like. It does look like this to me. And I hope to open people's eyes to the idea that a landscape, the cool thing about a landscape is, yeah, you do have to have the main Teton, kind of looking like the main Teton. I did win the grand prize for landscape out of International Artist Magazine, and there's pictures of it over there you can see, okay, with a painting of the Dolomites. And they did have to look like the Dolomites, but they were done in these kinds of techniques. So there are many pores on these and a lot of brushwork, and I just do whatever it takes. I have not quite gone as far as to make holes in the bottom of a paint can and just drizzle it over my work, but I'm close, okay? Because the reason that landscape is such a wonderful thing is because the minute the sun changes, the minute the moon comes out, the minute the wind starts, everything changes. So nobody can look at one spot and then they can see a specific rock there, but they can't say, you did that wrong. It doesn't look exactly like that. Even this one of the Grand Canyon, where it's the Three Virgins. The Three Virgins are definitely there, okay, and I did do the small paintings on location there for that painting. But I wanted to make it interesting and some place where you could walk back in and find any kind of little creature or crazy thing that you want to think of that's back in there. So these paintings are supposed to change with you as you look at them. Different hours of the day, when you hang these on your walls, they do change, and you'll say, oh, I never saw that in there before. And that is the idea, is that I want you to walk back in, metaphorically, and have an adventure, and have it never be the kind of thing that you just walk by in your room and say, I've seen that a million times, I don't want to look at it again. I want you to be excited about finding something new and intriguing. So this one right here was in the Blackfoot Fair. I always put in, my mother loved it. My mother's been gone for a long time, but I still put paintings in there because I know she's up there saying, go check out her work, you know. But anyway, they found leopards in there, and faces, and people, and all kinds of animals and whatever. I didn't paint any of those in there. But it's fun that they can have that kind of an adventure with something that just hangs on their walls. And cool against warm, when we get into the still life room, I'll explain about Ovanus Barbarian and his brilliance, and which most of you that live here will know that to be true, that cools against warms. The way he does it, I have struggled for years and still continue to make certain that every painting has cools against warms somehow, so that it makes the color vibrate. But you know, I would say that drawing and composition come before texture or color, or if you want to put them in a hierarchy. Okay, now right by the door is once again my thing that I wrote, that's signed by Torgesen Murdock. And so before you leave today, you read these, as I spent a long time thinking about them. So I have a degree, and then I've also studied with some really major artists like Harley Brown and Ovanus Barbarian. Ovanus is the master. I admiringly call him the Sorolla of our time, because he knows the gift of cool against warm and how to do those things. And as you'll notice in here, I mean, I hope you see, I do hope you see the cools against the warms in these, all right? So still life is where you start. Okay, do you know why still life is so fantastic? The very best thing about still life is that it's still. So if you want to draw something in a still life for 3 days, it will still look exactly the same. Well, unless it's, okay, so in there I say if you want to study scales in art, you know, you can do that on a fish out of water, but you better do it within a couple of hours, right? Or it's going to change. But the greatest thing about still life is you can move it around, you can change it until you have what you want to say exactly, and you can visualize it, and you can do your viewfinder thing and make sure that you have your dot in the right place, and so as you look at these, I want you to especially notice the cools against the warms, okay, like and when I talk about cools against warms, I'm talking about cool blue against warm blue. I am not talking about, I mean, of course, orange against, lavender is going to make it really pop. But there is a cool within every color, and you need to learn how to drop those cools into those warms and those warms into those cools, because that's what makes it pretty spectacular. And that is the gift, of course, that Ovanis has struggled to give me, okay, and has tried to make happen. So still life is where you learn to draw. Still life is where you learn to compose. Still life is where you learn how to do color. Okay, but isn't it fun? That is the thing. You act like learning composition and learning these things is hard and agonizing but it's not. It's just all fun. It's all fun. Every bit of it. Even when you have, and I have a whole room full of failures, okay, and sometimes I gesso over the top of them and do something else, okay, but it's all an exciting adventure. And when you learn and you see a painting that comes out successfully, then it's just pure adrenaline rush. And actually, you can have that adrenaline rush from a still life the same, because you'll set it all up, and then all of a sudden you'll put a light on it, or the sun will come out if you're outside or whatever, and it's just like takes your heart and rips it right out of your chest. So those things are extremely precious. So when you're talking about learning, learn from still life, because it will wait for you, and it's the only thing that truly will. Hey, thank you. This is such an honor. It's such an honor for you to be here. And Ovanis Barbarian right back there is my mentor, and he has struggled, like I said, with me for years trying to teach me the magic. But his magic, I always think, oh, I got it down. And then I go watch him paint, and I go, and I don't have it down. The more you know, the more you don't know. Okay, and then you just keep moving forward, and all of it's an adventure. They always say, oh, you can't create emotion in portraits. That's another one of the arts, like texture, color, drawing. Okay, we have emotions as people, just like landscape has drama and still life has pattern. You have to do faces. You can read every book, and it can say, this is the halfway mark in the head and whatever. Important, really important. Okay, but in order to get a little further beyond that towards your master's degree, then you've got to start incorporating these things. Some of them I paint off from a photo. Very seldom. Let's see, as I'm looking along here, the only one I can see that was painted up from a photo is the one on the beach, right there with the baby and the mother. That was kind of a, what do you call it, an expressionistic, it was a treatise on motherhood, because she has this beautiful child and she's bonding, but here are all the blackbirds all over on the side, and they actually were there, and my thought was the mother does the bonding, but the blackbirds are there, and so it has to continue. And then there's the one to the right of that that's called Classy, where it's not very finished, because when I got to that point and I was going to go down and finish that arm and whatever, I stood back from it and I went, I'm not touching this, okay? I love it just the way it is. So you don't always have to finish a piece up really finished. I had a lot of fun with the clothes on the model outside, and the one called September up there, and then this, I think you'll recognize, this is my husband. So during certain times it was very difficult to get a model. Well, we've all lived through, right? So I told him, just go down in the garage and pick a canvas and bring it up and I'll paint you. And he brings up this canvas like, I really want to paint him that size. You know, I said, are you kidding? I don't want to immortalize you that size. And then I'm really glad that she put the two black paintings in here of the black women and man, because I think I have a real gift for their skin tones and kind of how to set them up, and I do like to paint those also. And my studio's up in the mountains, so the snow scenes or whatever you see in there, I paint out my windows. And I can also paint beautiful autumn scenes and whatever right outside my window. I am really blessed. So I will tell you, so my husband one time, we had turned a little bedroom into a studio so I could do some commissioned portraits. And he came in one day and he goes, you wouldn't care if I just put my file cabinet in the corner of this room, right? I went ballistic. I mean, I cried and told him, you know, how can you want to encroach on, this is my profession. Don't you appreciate what I do? So that night, he didn't come to bed. And I thought, well, now I'm divorced. I've really done it this time. And when I came down the next morning, there was a clay model of what the addition would look like to put on the upstairs of our house to build me a beautiful studio and a master bedroom up there. And he brought home the jackhammer that very day and jackhammered out the wall. He started on the wrong wall, but he did get to the right one. And built me a beautiful studio where I could get up in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, say, Butch Bulldog, get out of bed and stumble out to the studio and work until it was 7:30, time to get my children's breakfast and get them off to school. And some of the paintings are named after children who went down and did their piano practice while I was painting up there. So I owe a lot to my husband, who not only carries my work, but who makes it possible for me to do this. And most women don't have, I mean, I recognize that. Some of you have to tough it out on your own. So I really do appreciate it. When I was in school, they didn't teach any marketing classes. So basically, I thought you just went home, did beautiful paintings, sat in your studio, and they would come find you. And that is just not what happens. Okay, and I had to learn all of those things about how to submit to galleries and how to keep track of my artwork and how to greet people and how to go to corporate heads and present work to go in a building and all these things that were terrifying. I was an artist, I just wanted to paint, okay, but you have to do that. And so, you know, to take art courses on education, on how to market, and I know the Commission on the Arts has one out right now and on that. But you just kind of, unfortunately, you have to be a marketer too. And that's a sad, that's a part of it I don't enjoy, but I love to talk about it. So anyway, there's something about artists. We love each other the minute we meet because we feel the same about beauty and light and all these things. Thank you.